Anybody who wishes to be heard, please come forward or forever hold your peace.
It's hard to do it here in Miami.
Councilor Woman, do you have anything to say?
No.
Nothing? Nothing?
My concern. Meeting with the city manager and the budget manager. I understand that if we don't use the money this year or next year, that we're gonna have to return it to the county. That's what it is.
In recent conversations with Miami-Dade, we are trying, they are looking at spending the funding, the $5 million funding from the GOB this year.
What is this year?
This
in
fiscal
November.
year, in 14-15,
Oh,
yeah,
fiscal
fiscal year 14-15.
Okay. So what is the plan? How, I don't mind, I don't have an issue about transferring from Rocks Park to
Cagney.
Cagney. So what is it that we're gonna do with that money in order for us not to return it back to the county? What's the process? Because we have this money for how long now? For like
Since
2 or 3
2006,
2000, yes, it's
when
been
the bond passed.
Okay, so
2006, 2007, yes.
okay, so now we only have less than a year. What we're gonna do?
That let
What is it?
and okay.
I believe through the mayor, it's Councilman Bienema's district. We have discussed it, so if he wants to address it,
What most likely it is, you know, we have the money allocated for Works Park right now, the way it is,
correct.
and we've been dealing with them about getting the permit in order to start doing the water park.
Right, almost 2 years now.
Exactly. We have 2 parks in the city, in the district, and since we keep waiting on them, what we are doing is moving the money. Instead of having the water park at Works Park, we're moving the money to Cagney Park to the same project. That's all we are doing.
That's correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we do have a plan, because it would be terrible to know that because that we lack of, I don't want to say vision, but movement, that we
Right.
have to return $5 million. So
No,
make sure
and I
that you
think,
guys on it.
In order to expedite the project, we are looking at doing a design build project immediately. As soon as the funding is reallocated to the Cagney North site, the speediest method of delivery would be a design build project. And as soon as the approval comes through, then I could move forward with that.
So what about the money that we have, the agreement that we have with the school board for Cagney?
The agreement with the school board, we have been, the city attorney, my deputy as well, had several meetings. I believe the Councilman Bieneme as well has met with the school board on several occasions. I've met with them. At present, we are going back and forth with the school board concerning the joint use agreement.
So
And
this,
there's nothing concrete that we'll be getting what we are requesting from the school board.
okay, that's where I'm going. So
Okay.
if we have the $5 million right now, which the county is forcing us to use as soon as possible, and yet again, we're still in a limbo with the school board for, I don't remember the amount of money, but
They're
more
looking
than
at 2.5 million. We are
$2.5
asking for
million.
3.5 million.
Do we intended to wait for the school board money before we move on with this project? Or what is, this is my fear, this is my concern.
And let me explain you, and from, let me answer it, and city manager, whether or not the school board will give us the money, we will move forward with the project. If we have $5 million, including the $1 million from PAL for the building, we will move forward with the project, because we have 2 empty land, and in the district, we need to do something. Whether or not they give us the money, we're gonna try to move forward with the $5 million.
Right.
That's
So that is the plan?
The GOB allocation is to be spent in District 3
Yeah.
for a water facility.
That's what
And
we're
it
doing.
will be
Just
spent.
move it from a location
move
to
it.
another location. We're still working with the school board to see if they're gonna give us the other $2 million to do a $7 million project. If they said yes, we're good to go. If not, we're gonna try to do it with the $5 million that
That's
was
correct.
if the county reallocated the
Okay,
money.
Councilwoman, if you have some last words to say on the subject to defend yourself.
Defend? What different from what? I was supporting the project.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not against the project. Are you against the project?
I
Mr.
didn't say
Mayor?
that.
Okay. I'm just messing with you. No, I'm good.
Are
This is
we
professional.
ready for roll
moving
call?
on.
I just quick
Then
question.
we'll-
Sure.
Are we still looking at potentially putting a pool back on the
Not-
site?
No,
Uh,
it's,
co- Outside, not only a pool, we will try to put an Olympic size pool
Great.
inside.
Okay.
Olympic size.
That's sorely needed
Inside
in
the
area.
location. We will try to see if we can put it and at another location, the empty lot across the street from the school board, where not from the school board, from
Cagni?
not
Cagney
from
South
Cagney,
side.
from North Miami Senior High School.
Okay.
But it looks like it's too small. But we're gonna put the Olympic size pool
Correct.
inside Cagney.
Cool. I like it.
All right,
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
So the motion was made by Councilman Galvin. It was seconded by Vice Mayor Bieneme. Roll call vote, Mayor Joseph,
Yay?
Councilwoman Steril,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bieneme,
Yes.
Councilman Galvin.
Yes.
Item passes 5-0. Tab N. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the vacation, abandonment, closure, and sale of city-owned unimproved parcels of land consistent of approximately 2,248 and 5,247 square feet, respectively, including a 20 feet wide alleyway consisting of 7,613 square feet lying south of lots 1, A, and B of Block 13, Biscayne Highlands subdivision, and adjacent to lots 7 through 13, as depicted in Plate Book 46, page 26, near the intersection of Northeast 141st Street and West Dixie Highway, and further authorizing the city manager to negotiate the sale of the subject property in accordance with Chapter 29, Article 3, Division 9, City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Land Development Regulations, and to take all necessary steps to effectuate conveyance of the subject property, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Public hearing is open. Do we have a presentation?
Yeah, I'd just like to call Tanya Sijuru Wilson, Planning Director, to give you a short background on the project.
Okay.
Thank you. Tanya Wilson, Séjour. Just for the record, the request that we have before us is for the vacation, abandonment, and sale of our 20-foot wide alleyway. It's located within the vicinity, the southwest quadrant of the intersection of Northeast 141st Street and Dixie Highway. The property itself, as you'll see in the staff report, the private property areas abut the area of the alleyway on either sides of the alleyway, north and south sides of the alleyway. An applicant is requesting abandonment of the alleyway in order to redevelop the site. He currently owns property, commercial property within the area. The area itself is zoned C1, and the request for abandonment would allow for the redevelopment of the site. We actually have looked at the request based on the guidelines of the code. In Article 3, Division 9 of the code, it outlines criteria for requesting abandonment, vacation, and sale of alleyways. And based on staff's analysis, we believe that they've satisfied the criteria of the code, and we're recommending approval of this request at this time. We have the applicant that's actually here and wishes to speak on the item. Mr. Ari Scalar is an architect and agent for the project and would like to speak on the item at this time.
Thank you, Tanya. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Ari Sklar. I'm the architect for the applicants and have been working with Tanya and the staff for some time now, reviewing the property and looking at the best solution that could come from this property. The properties in question include a portion of the alleyway as well as two triangular portions of land that are unused and pretty much abandoned and kind of derelict the area. And my clients have done a lot of development in different areas. They have property there and they're looking to improve it, and by putting the property together, the properties take a more regular shape and a less irregular shape, and could make a better development for the area. Nothing's really happened there for a long, long time. and they're hoping to improve the area and be a catalyst for the area. And we've dealt, like I said, we've dealt for a while with the planning department, and we hope to help improve the area.
Are you going to do a unity of title on all the lots?
Yes, we're unity of title accordingly, yes.
My understanding there is that there is another property. Is that the same
That's the same
land where there
property.
is the other property behind it,
That's correct.
sharing the alleyway?
That's
Half
correct.
goes one way and half goes the other way.
That's correct.
As I stated to you, the only thing that I would like to see happen is to let the other owner exercise the first right of refusal for the other half. And if they decline, then we would incorporate it in that parcel, make it one sale instead of leaving the other half without any use. I mean, that would not be any use to the city.
We did already, but I'll let Tanya explain a little further.
If I could just add a point of clarification, the properties that are actually bordering the alleyway is owned by the applicant, with the exception of one lot, lot 6. And for that portion, we've obtained a letter of no objection, and that property owner understands and has forfeited their right to that 50%.
They have forfeited.
They have. So we have a letter on record.
So which means we are selling the whole alleyway, not half
Correct.
of it.
Yes,
Because
that's
it's bounded on either side by the
Okay.
applicant,
The only
with the
lot
exception
that-
of that sliver.
For clarification, the only lot in question that is abutting, that is not owned by the property owner, is lot number 6 in the diagram that you have.
And they have no objection
And there's no objection as well.
whatsoever.
I have a question on about the other property owner, and if we built in the alleyway and the two triangle and space, won't there be in code violation with parking lot for the other property?
No,
Do they have enough parking lot?
Yeah, they wouldn't be, because that entire segment, they're co-applicants. The entire segment would be redeveloped by the
Or the whole-
co-applicants. The
the whole
entire
thing?
thing, correct.
Oh, it's together. It's not
Yes,
just.
correct.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. It won't be a project
So it won't
next
be
to it.
piecemeal. They're looking to redevelop the entire area.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
That's it?
Is this the same spot that somebody was running a car wash from for many years?
No,
or
it's
is that,
not.
No.
that's a
not.
different spot? Is
Yeah,
that car
that's
wash
south of this
contract
area.
still
That's 140.
there? That's one block south?
Yeah, the car
Yeah,
wash
the-
is at 138.
Yeah, the car wash contract still exists, but is on a month-to-month basis.
Yeah, 138. It's not 140.
It's only
this
been-
one is 140.
Right.
141. Okay, that's the only question I have, Mr. Mayor.
Any
But
public hearing?
what
we haven't had
what is the
public
owner?
hearing
What you
yet.
intend to build there? Do you have a plan and for it? And
We have some preliminary plans in the package that you have for a commercial and retail and office, but we did it preliminarily, not knowing if we would get the land.
Okay.
So we're going to study a little bit further, and whatever we develop there will be in close relationship with the planning department, meeting all the codes and everything that's required by the city.
Okay, thank you. Tanya, another question. The other two small space, are there C1 also,
Yes, that entire area is zone C1.
including the?
Correct.
Ah,
All the lands within are zone C1 on your zoning map.
okay.
Okay,
And we haven't.
The entire
How
block,
much is the
actually,
price?
correct. Based on the two appraisals we obtained, one was for 81,000 and the
81,000
other
and
for
83,000.
83,000.
But how much you gonna sell it for? We haven't decided.
Yeah,
Are we
the
gonna sell it?
resolution, the intent of the resolution was to authorize the city manager and the city attorney to negotiate once
negotiate
the
a price.
resolution is adopted.
Negotiate and decide how much they wanna sell it.
Right.
Correct.
No, we the one that gonna decide how much we wanna sell
Based
it
on your
for.
city ordinance, we cannot sell it less than 90%.
We know that.
So
but
the
we can sell
minimum
it
is
for-
90%, so we
There
can
is no
negotiate
maximum.
above,
I
exactly.
understand that.
So-
And
okay,
should we decide how much we wanna sell it? Me, based on
let him, why don't
based
we,
on the area, and I know.
why
it's
don't
a
we let
tax
him,
fact.
why don't we let him come with the price and then we'll discuss
Yeah,
it.
we will discuss before you get to the
Okay.
final.
Yeah, let
decision.
him come with the price.
Yeah, we will move it forward, and
All right.
the price need to be determined.
Okay,
Bye.
Okay.
Ms. Blaine?
We don't have to bring it back, but we always can talk and bring it.
No, they will
where
bring
we
it
want.
back to us. They
No,
will
I have to
back.
bring it back because
Oh, yeah. What do you mean?
per city code, yeah.
He has to bring it back
Yes.
with the price.
When I
and
negotiate
at
a
which
price, I
time.
bring it back for your approval.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
Okay.
I have
public hearing is open. Ms. Blaine?
Esther Blinn, 1990 Northeast 118th Road. 90% of $83,000, I believe was what I read. That's the price you can,
No, that's not what you said. That's the minimum
that's
price.
the
Yeah.
appraised.
the appraised value is 83,000 and 81,000. The two
Well,
appraised.
81,
Yes.
it's either way, it's 90% is what you're supposedly going to sell it for.
That's not what it is.
I
No,
have
That's
questions.
not what it is, Madam Blaine.
Huh?
It's
I'm sorry.
90% minimum.
The minimum.
Yes, I understand that's the minimum. But I also understand it abuts some residential properties, and I'm concerned when people have vague plans for development of an office building or a commercial structure that's vague when you are abutting residential properties, and whether it's compatible, whether you looked into various ways of developing the city, developing those as public park areas, small park areas. There's a new trend among cities, including major cities, to develop what's called parklets, which is parks the size of parking spaces. They've been developed in San Francisco. There's a program that we once were members of, I don't know if we still are, American Bloom, for getting grants, fundings, and developments for otherwise useless pieces of property. What has been considered useless pieces of property that cities such as Detroit, San Francisco, Los Angeles have developed. And we brought that to the city's attention, and I think it behooves us to look into what the city can gain out of it besides $83,000. That just seems, even if Vice Mayor Bien-Aimé, it isn't 83, it's still a very low, I don't know where these appraisals come from, but I think we really need to think about the whole area, and just because one landowner happens to be in the way and they got the approval of one landowner abutting an alleyway, I don't think that speaks for the whole neighborhood. So I would suggest some kind of public workshop to talk about something as important as this before you make a decision and pass a resolution, to kind of sight unseen. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me to rush into giving, which is what you're doing. The language of it even suggests that you're practically giving it away. So I voice my objection as a member of the community. It doesn't affect the area in which I'm a homeowner, but it affects the whole city when you do something like this without thought or consideration.
Okay, now, Mr. Manager, how long have we been at this again, you said? We've been negotiating with the buyer, potential?
Actually, there's no negotiations with the buyer. We, per the city ordinance, we get two prices, and the minimum that we could dispose of it is 90%. The two companies that did the appraisal, one was done in July 28, 2014, is MTO Realty, that is MTO Realty, Inc. And the second company was FREPA Real Estate, Inc. And their price was 81,000.
81,000.
Can I say something, Mayor?
I see the engineer is still standing. Did you have anything else to add?
I was just here standing in case you needed me for something. I just wanted to clarify that what the lady had mentioned, that it's a budding residential property. Presently, there are single-family residences. However, the zone, that whole block is commercial, And the intention of the planning department is to develop and improve that area for commercial.
Commercial, that's correct.
In any case, we respect whoever's there. We landscape. It's required to put a beautiful landscaping, a wall, whatever's required. And I don't know many of you, my father, my uncle, I'm the third architect in the family, and everybody knows our family here in South Florida, and we always do a beautiful project. We do the right thing. You know, we're not looking to do, you know, I grew up here in Miami, Miami Beach, North Miami. I live in North Miami Beach now, and we have property. I actually am a property owner here in North Miami. And we always want to improve and do the right thing for the community.
Thank you very much. I guess public hearing is now closed because no one come to the mic. If anyone wishes
I'd like
to.
to ask a couple questions. What we're looking to sell is only the alleyway, not lots A and B, is that correct?
That's correct.
No, it's actually the alleyway along with the little
Yeah.
triangular
So we
sliver.
are
Well,
also-
the
A
two
and B,
triangles, yes.
correct.
The two
It's the
little.
entire thing.
Yeah. Attaches Exhibit A, Councilwoman. The survey, Exhibit A clearly outlines.
Because, you know, I'm just looking at the resolution. Because it said, it's reading lying south of lots 1A and B of Block 13. So that's the closure and sale of city land lying south of 1A and B of Block 13. It doesn't say including lots A and B, so that's why I'm a little confused here. And when I discussed this with the manager this afternoon, I thought we discussed that lots A and B were already owned by the applicant. Is that wrong?
Lots
Because, I mean,
A and
staff-
B are,
Staff report's saying we're selling the land south of A and B, not including A and B.
it's lots A, B, and the alleyway.
And the alleyway.
And the staff report outlines that it's a total area consisting of 15,000 square feet or 0.35 acres in size.
How many feet?
It's 15,108 square feet or 0.35 acres in size.
So, under your recommendation,
Mm-hmm.
it states, and I'm just trying to read all this, and it says generally lying south of lots 1A and B.
Mm-hmm.
So if the property we're selling if we're selling property south of A and B, we're not selling lots A and B. And that's a difference.
Well, clarification, it's lots A, which is a total of 2,200.
A, B, and the alleyway.
Correct.
So the recommendation is not written correctly.
Right. Lots A has a total square footage of 2,248 square feet. Lot B, 5,247 square feet.
7,000.
And the alleyway, 7,613 square feet, for a grand total of 15,108 square feet.
I think in the recommendation paragraph that she's looking at, a better use of commas would have made that a little bit more clearly, because I see exactly, I can see what you're saying and what she's saying, and grammatically, just a comma.
Comma wouldn't
or
help in
two
this,
out of
I don't
place.
think. I don't think a comma would help in this either.
Well,
Um,
I think it would, but either way, I think
It says
it's-
including
what I do
A,
for a living,
including
Scott,
a
religious
20
business.
feet wide alleyway consisting.
And the resolution also
The
says-
resolution in the third whereas clause clearly states what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Lying south of lot
20 feet.
1.
Consisting of
Okay.
lots,
It's
of block
Okay,
13.
that's including.
Yes.
south of lots 1,
That's
comma,
right.
A and B, comma. But I just think that grammatically, somebody could have, my opinion is, you could have expressed it a little bit better grammatically.
Okay,
Okay,
Mr.
okay.
Mr. Zhu, why don't you tell us what it is and have the clerk documented for
Okay, the
correction?
resolution seems to.
As indicated in the
okay.
title, the request is for the abandonment of the alleyway in addition to lots A and B. Your
Alleyway
total,
in addition to lot A and B.
Correct.
lots A and B.
That's what's being sold.
correct. So speak that into the record, so at least it's on the record.
Mr. Clerk?
It's on the record that she just stated, and like she said, it was read into the record when I read the title of the resolution
Correct.
of tab N. So it's correct here, it was just incorrect in the recommendation.
Okay.
But it's correct and clearly stated here Mr. Adjourn just indicated.
We've got about 150 pages of documentation, so
Yeah.
I'm just trying to read some stuff and understand
Okay,
it.
that's fine.
You're not abutting property.
Well, there is no public hearing, no more is there any more statement to be made? No?
Another question, I'll address Mrs. Blynn's question. Any way we would want to make those two triangles a park? Behind a commercial?
I'll say that the challenge of the configuration that you have for property owners along Dixie is that most of the lots there are triangularly shaped. They're tiny lots, so if there's any opportunity for redevelopment as expressed in the comprehensive plan, there has to be acquisition, there has to be some thought of abandonment in order to give those property owners the opportunity to redevelop the sites. The configuration is difficult and the lot sizes are small, so this assists with the redevelopment of the area.
So now the price of 81,000 seems very low for a large parcel like that?
There are two appraisals actually, Madam Councilwoman. There's one for 81,000, the other for 83,000.
83,000, yeah.
The city charter requires that two appraisals be obtained, so
And
those were the two
did we
amounts.
choose these appraisers?
Yes, those appraisals were procured and they're actually registered with the city, so
And they both came in?
they work for the city to provide.
They both equally came in at 81,000, or did we have?
Independently, both independently. One came in at 81,000, the other at 83,000, and they represent the
coincidence.
city.
If you look at the staff report, page 4 of 7, second paragraph tells you the two companies that were selected and the two companies that provided the pricing.
These are two of our city-approved appraisers?
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Clerk?
This time, Mayor, we do not have a motion or a second yet, and this is regarding tab N. I need a motion and a second to move forward.
I make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Bieneme. It was seconded by Mayor Joseph. Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Steril?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bieneme?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys?
Yes.
Item passes 5-0. Tab O. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting the city of North Miami downtown action and concept plan to serve as a visual design and planning guide for future private and public redevelopment in the city's downtown area and major corridors, and further authorizing the city manager and city attorney to do all things necessary to effectuate the subject plan as required by Florida law, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Tab O.
Okay, now, I understand there is a presentation. Do we do that before we do public hearing?
Yeah, one of the things I'd just like to recommend, the senator is here. I know this item is taking a little long. He has already been presented with the downtown plan, so if we could hear his comments, I'm just requesting if you could get his comments.
One comment. Mr. Senator, if you have an item that you wanted to speak on, you could have tell
Why
us,
didn't
and
you
then
tell
we
us
could have
that?
moved it up.
Yeah.
I wanted
You know
to
you got the power.
I actually really wanted to just see you run your first meeting. And so, hey,
He
I
passed the
see most
test,
of it.
right?
Is it on? Is it on? Yeah. Okay. I wanted to, again, just thank you all for allowing me to speak and also congratulate the mayor on a well-run meeting. I think I've seen about 80% of your meeting now. I want to thank the mayor and his staff who gave me a very thorough briefing and listened to some of my comments about the plan that you have before you that you will see a presentation on following me. And I just want to say that I believe these are the type of plans and these are the type of things that move us into the next generation and move us into a city. When people say North Miami, I remember there was a former mayor that always used to say an all-America city, and it will make us the all-America city. And, you know, the things that I heard talk about, like park spaces, even in there talking about places that have small park place, city, it turns the downtown into the type of city that spawns development. You have people coming in, whether it be local businesses. It's the thing that attracts multinational businesses to come in. And I also think it creates a hometown feel but giving you a downtown. And from the state level, I want to lend my full support, and I've talked to the manager about anything that we can bring as far as resources from the state level to effectuate a plan such as this. And I also mentioned also that I thought this would just be the beginning of some of the redevelopment of some of the areas in North Miami as we drive, as you just go straight down there and go up, back up 6th Avenue, talking about moving towards down 6th Avenue and improving that corridor. And I've offered all of the resources that I can bring to bear from the state, and making sure that I can get my colleagues in the Senate and the House to make sure we have resources to effectuate a plan such as this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senator. Very well said. And
thank you.
We really appreciate your comments.
And
your words of wisdom.
Thank you very much.
And as you stated back there, knowledge comes, but wisdom lingers.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
that is.
These words of wisdom will stay here, and we will use them toward taking North Miami to a higher level.
Thank you very much. And again, congratulations.
Thank you. And
Do we need a? Isn't it the same presentation that we have like 13 times?
Yes, the third time is a charmer. For the record, again, Tanya Wilson Sejour with the Community Planning and Development Department. We're excited to be able to present the Downtown Master Plan finally to the Mayor and Council. Of course, that's the audience that's here. I'm going to ask IT, wonderful, if they could put the image on the screen. As many of you know, we've spent a greater portion of this year hosting forums, meeting with the public, meeting with the architects, and we're happy to be at this point to present the proposed downtown concept and action plan for the Mayor and Council. So starting out with the presentation, just to get some background, how did we get to this point? The Mayor and Council adopted the city's downtown master plan back in May of 2013. As a part of that adoption, the master plan includes a series of strategies. It outlines a series of strategies for the revitalization of North Miami's downtown. Included in the series of strategies, there's a recommendation to identify key catalyst projects, create a concept plan. The concept plan itself would serve as a visual guide with urban design elements for both public and private space improvements. Along with that, there was a recommendation to create an action plan. And the action plan itself would serve as a blueprint outlining the progressive steps needed to implement the strategies of the downtown plan. So it identifies capital cost, of course, as a part of the process, understanding the cost to be able to redevelop and revitalize areas of the downtown. But it also makes recommendation for funding sources. What are some of the ways that you can pay for, as our senator just mentioned? What are some of the ways that you could pay for the recommended improvements and revitalization strategies in the downtown area? So along with the process, we retained a consultant team, Keith and Snars, as also in addition to the coordinating group to assist with creating both plans. So the public process was pretty extensive. We started out in order to really envision and conceptualize what we had in mind for the redevelopment of North Miami's downtown. We started out with educational tours to both the city of Delray as well as Fort Myers. We recognized that Delray, their strategy was to focus on privatized spaces, spending money on investing and subsidizing private developments. And in Fort Myers, it was slightly different. They spent a lot of money on capital projects, two different approaches, but it was important for us to sit down with those public officials and to really garner the lessons learned. If there were mistakes made, just really practical tips that we could hear from them. Both had declining downtowns, and within the last 15 to 20 years, they've been able to transform both cities' downtowns into very vibrant spaces, lucrative, with a lot of economic development, a lot of public art, and a sense of place that they could be proud of. So looking at the public process, we also had a civic space competition. This was a critical piece. We recognize within our region that we have oodles of talent. We have many local universities that have architectural programs, urban design programs. We were able to reach out to those schools, many of the schools in our area, to bring in those young talents and ask them to participate in the process. So we were able to have the civic space competition. Lo and behold, we had over 20 students that competed for the opportunity to give recommendation for civic space improvements in North Miami's downtown area. So many of the renderings that you see within the concept plan were actually from one of our winning students. And the prize, of course, for the winning students is that he was able to obtain an internship with the Cordina Group. So it was a win-win. we were able to tap into the talent, and he was also able to gain employment and experience from one of our architectural firms. So looking at the public process, we hosted 3 community forums over the span of time across the city. We also got input from area residents, businesses, universities, and elected officials yourself. Many of you participated in the forums. We also created a day pack. This was a critical body that was created by the council, and the day pack serves as champions and ambassadors for the plan. No great plan can succeed really without public input and really without the public support. So the day pack is comprised of many local business owners, residents, stakeholders that will help to drive the vision forward as we implement over time. And looking at the components of the action plan itself, it, as I said before, identifies and prioritizes the implementation strategies. And based on our estimate, we looked at the cost of the capital improvements that are outlined in the plan, and our economist that was on the team estimated the cost for $8.5 million in terms of investment costs for the capital improvement projects over time. We also looked at possible revenue sources. There were several recommendations that you'll see in the action plan itself that outlines specific grants, information on how the CRA itself could be an engine and a revenue source for the implementation of the projects outlined in the plan. We also have information on bonding, possible loans, and of course, the possibility of having public-private partnerships in the process. And as we go further down in the presentation, you'll see a map that actually identifies locations for possible public-private partnerships in the downtown plan. We projected, based on the economist's estimate, that the direct and indirect jobs that could be generated at the build-out of the downtown is estimated as 534 new jobs that could be created from the new businesses and new investment that comes into the area. And in terms of potential tax revenue at build-out, it's estimated as $3.7 million in new tax revenue. Looking at the components of the concept plan, you'll note, has 8 civic space capital improvements. So certainly one of the things we observed from the 2 cities that I mentioned that we did site visits to, in order to really transform the look of the downtown and the place, it was important to start with what you own. Those public spaces that over time may have been neglected, or the lack of public art. We recognize the need to identify 8 specific spaces, whether it was historic structures, like we recognize there was a structure on Dixie, actually the fountain. The Historic Society told us that structure is actually 90 years old. I don't know how many residents recognize that, but as a part of the process, we identified those type of historic relics and emphasized the importance of having those spaces renovated over time and included as public art. We also looked at an analysis of the building height and massing. We included urban design and architectural styles throughout the entire plan to help to drive the development process. Whenever we have developers that come in, it's important to be able to show them a vision of what's allowed in the downtown and what's encouraged. So that way we don't just have a hodgepodge of a vision, but we have a clear north arrow to guide development as it comes into the city over time. So as a part of the plan, you'll notice that there's streetscape and landscape improvement recommendations. There's open space. It was recognized as we analyzed the perimeters of the downtown that it's really void of open space and park areas. And it also speaks to the recommendation of the Parks Master Plan, the need to create green space in our downtown area. There's also recommendation of more public art. Places like we mentioned before, like MoCA, that could become an engine for recommending public art throughout the city and encouraging arts and culture. There's also recommendation for outdoor dining. Our downtown, we recognize, is oftentimes just a daytime experience. And of course, if a downtown is to be vibrant and a downtown is to be sustainable, there has to be both day and nighttime activity in the downtown. We also talked about the need of downtown parking. There was a parking analysis that was done as a part of the process, and it identified that as the downtown begins to build out and as new density and new intensity comes in, there will be a need for public parking spaces and public garages to support that new growth. And lastly, it talks about the opportunities for public-private partnership. We recognize the importance of the area that we occupy in the downtown. Right now, most of the land ownership within the downtown is under the control of the city. So as we look throughout the spaces in the downtown where there could be opportunities for redevelopment, we see that there's an abundance of surface parking and certainly opportunities where you could have public-private partnerships. So our consultant, Alex David, is going to come up right now and speak to you with regards to the actual renderings and pictures and recommendations of what's included in the concept plan itself.
Good evening. My name is Alex David with the Corradino Group, and I get to show the pretty pictures. But first of all, I'd like to thank the senator because I don't think I could have said it better myself. I'm very happy with his words, and also it's been a pleasure with working with Tanya on this project. And I just wanted to go back and very quickly re-emphasize the number of meetings we had. Starting in April, I believe, we had a kickoff meeting with the council. We had 3 forums throughout the summer. We had 2 meetings with the Downtown Action Plan Advisory Committee. We presented to the Greater North Miami Chamber of Commerce, and I believe this also went before the CRA. As Tanya said, we're going to start with the northernmost civic space we looked at, and we looked at about 8. And I'd like to call Tanya Sherlock Holmes because she's the one who did the research to determine that this fountain was about 90 years old, which is right around the time of incorporation or just before the incorporation of North Miami. So basically, we have the fountain today, and the proposal is just to beautify that area because that is the gateway coming southbound on West Dixie at 132nd into the what we're calling the downtown area. Again, and this is all I forgot to mention. You all, I believe, have a copy of this document. So I mean, it's rather lengthy. It's about, I think, 80-some pages, but these drawings are also in this document along with the text. The next next area we looked at was the West Dixie Green Trail. And what this is connecting 125th Street around the 5 Point areas down to Griffin Park. There's no real connectivity. Definitely it's been blocked off for drivers. Walking is not a pleasant experience. So what we were trying to do in this area is connect Griffin Park activities there to downtown North Miami at 5 Points. This is just 8th Avenue at City Hall. What we were proposing to do is create from 125th Street South to 123rd what we're calling the 8th Avenue Promenade. Because of proximity of MoCA and other items that the city would like to see, like more downtown events, spaces to hold events, what we were proposing is to somehow use those 2 blocks as more public space. You'd be able to close them off, say with bollards, temporary bollards, to create public spaces for fairs or other farmers markets or other events. So that would just be the block between the 2 blocks between 125th and 123rd. On the east side of 8th Avenue, at north of 124th, we have our public surface parking lot, which is just east of City Hall. One of the concepts and one of the ideas is create a public-private partnership with property owner to the east. There is a need for parking structure to free up other areas for development, city-owned properties. And this has been vetted. I know that the council has discussed it as part of CRA. Constructing a public parking garage, which would then condense the amount of space for parking. It would be in a structure instead of surface parking. We also looked at a very small space that not many people know about. They drive by and don't know about it, which is the Liberty Gardens Park, which is a small walkway between 125th to the alleyway to the north. There is a city parking lot north of the alley on 126, but it's not a very heavily used area. So what the drawing shows is this rendering shows is the existing condition and what could be done if, say, the property owner on one side or the other of that walkway, they could renovate the building to open it up to create a cafe or garden cafe in that area. Again, it would be a public-private partnership. So it's just another concept of plan, future idea, something to think about. Again, this is, we all know 5 Points, which I call the heart of the city. We know it's heavily trafficked, but it's rather barren in the triangle. And what we've looked at is, what can we do with this area to make it better for pedestrians to get across the street? And that is providing shade and something else, and maybe an iconic feature like a sculpture. And this is where, as Tanya said, trying to find places for public art, because there is a lot of public art within the city's realm. Where can we actually put it out into the city? And then this is a fabulous space for something like that. So that is the 5 Points intersection civic area. Before I spoke about the Green Trail connection from 125th Street south to Griffin Park. Griffin Park is a passive area, but what could you do to energize that area, that area of the western part of downtown? And one of the thoughts was maybe putting in a small amphitheater type, stage or space, very low key, but for concerts there. So that is a draw from 125th down to Griffin Park. So it's just a very small amphitheater, but it would draw people and make the park more heavily utilized. The next item we looked at is Northeast 8th Avenue, north of 125th Street. When we studied Northeast 8th Avenue, we realized that there are two civic areas. We have the government building here, City Hall, the spaces. On the north side, up above 131st, is the public library, the schools. So this is really the main roadway connecting those two civic places. So we looked at somehow treating that avenue a bit differently with bike lanes or special, roadway paving, lighting, banners to really activate and make that connection between the two civic uses. This was actually the winner, the person who drew this rendering was actually the winner of the internship, and he's actually still working for me. So it's no longer an internship. He's moved on. So, and I can't live without him. I have to say that. He's been really great, and I'm glad, he's still with us. Working on this project and others. So this is just one concept, again, for the Mocha Plaza. What could you do? There's a private building to the west, but what could you do to intensify that use and really activate this plaza in this whole area? So this was one concept that Camilo came up with. Again, we've talked about Mocha Plaza and the Civic Center complex, the Civic Center complex being City Hall plus the administration buildings to the south. We know, and as we've discussed before, the City Hall was built in 1962, circa 62, when the city had a population of about 10,000 or 12,000. Now we have 5 times that. If we have almost 5 times that. And so it's outgrowing, it's overcapacity. So what could you do with that building to retrofit it to make a larger council chamber, say, or utilize it for other purposes? This is a part of the super block. This is the vacant lot just to the west of Mocha. And this building could be almost anything, hotel, administrative, but it just shows that you could take a parking lot and place a building that's a really great building and fit it into that block and have parking and uses other than surface parking. So we've done the public part of this presentation. We've also looked at public-private partnerships or more of them. And this is the lot between 8th, basically east of 8th Avenue, west of 9th Avenue along 126th Street, which is just across the block, and up one. So this is mostly city-owned property. What could you do with a property owner that owns some of that area? And one of the items is to concentrate parking again, is create a public parking lot with a developer. This is looking from, say, Chase Bank northwest. The developer owns that entire block between 9th Avenue and 8th Avenue. What could they do to increase the densities or intensities of the use? So this is just a concept of a building. And then as you notice, behind the building is the public parking garage I was talking about in the previous slide. And then this is just another view looking from City Hall northeast to the same side of northeast 125th Street. We also, one of the first things we did, one of our architects looked at retrofitting buildings or beautification, and right across the street we have the Jewish Community Services building, which is used but a little bit underutilized. So they have a great view towards the south across Tomoka. Why not retrofit the building and maybe put in some restaurants on the ground floor, which are elevated above the street level, so it would be a nice restaurant area. So that was one thought. What this shows is, and this is like kind of a generic slide, what we're calling these side street cafes or corner cafes. You could take almost any side avenue and create a restaurant from in a building at the corner. So you're away from the noise of 125th Street, you're on a side street, and the reason this is a public-private partnership would be you have a building owner who would renovate the building, but the city could possibly give up 2 parking spaces to allow a bumping out of the sidewalk, allowing for tables and additional landscaping in those areas. So 2 parking spaces would yield seats and added vegetation. And with that, I was very brief, hopefully, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before you go forward, I'd like to make a comment. As they always say, you don't know what you have or the importance of what you have until somebody else said. I was at the county, a advisory board that they have, which is Community Image Advisory Board, which is chaired by Commissioner Moss. And Tanya was there making a presentation about our downtown development. So she did it so well, and they were so impressed about what we have to offer. Literally, after the board is about 20 to 30 people in there, which is MDX, FDOT, many other cities, Miami Beach, North Miami, Homestead, present in the board. So, and they had a lot of developers that was present as well. So I was shocked to see how many people that actually giving Tanya their cards and offering her position, which including our beloved commissioner, wish to have her on her team, so on his team. So really, Tanya, and as you know, I personally really appreciate your effort, the effort that you put on the downtown redevelopment with the great team and the consultant that you have. So I'm hoping that us up here really appreciate and acknowledge your knowledge and your enthusiasm to put. And I know Dr. Claude has been very instrumental, that I talk a lot about it. So I hope that tonight we can actually show the appreciation to move forward the downtown plan. And again, thank you so much for your hard work. And we're willing to keep you, and we will keep you. Tell the commissioners that we're going to keep you here. Thank you.
All right, Tanya, good job.
And I'm sorry, one more thing. I'd just like to give a shout out to, there are some DPAC members here. I forgot to mention that. Do you want to wave or? Okay, so, do you want to speak? Okay, but I just wanted to acknowledge their help in this whole process.
Thank you very much, sir. Before I move forward, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of some important people in the room. Pastor Enoch Lillian. Thank you very much for coming tonight. And we also have Daniel Fizeme, as we know from the Haitian American Society, Historical Society, as well as our beloved Rengo Kaya, and his well-loved wife, Vanya Laguerre. Vanya, I would like for you to please stand up. Because this is a woman. She's
Not you, Rengo.
We say her.
Not you, Rengo. Not you, come on.
Don't try to steal the show, man. Come on. That Ivana actually happens to be the director of the Merrill Lynch Bank of South Florida region. And she is the only Haitian American woman to actually hold that position in the entire U.S.
Very good.
And also we have our beloved Jeff Lozama here. And I see Sauveger is also here. Thank you very much for being here. Now, oh, Abby is not a guest. I didn't have my microphone on. Abby is not a guest. You are the child of the house, right, Abby? And actually, the first time I sat, can I call you Tanya or do I have to call you Miss Wilson Sejour? Huh? She sat me down. She said, Mr. Mayor, I know you're the mayor of you're the new kid in the block and everything. It's time that we sit you down and let you see what we got for you. And after like 5 minutes, and she kept on talking, I said, I don't know why you keep talking. I'm already sold. I mean, such a project, I don't know how can anybody see it and walk away from it and see that there is no place for it in the city of North Miami. And as we all know it, this is the 21st century, and I tend to travel a lot as much as I can. And when I go to different cities and I see how they are evolving, how they are really going, and sometimes you ask the questions, like I was in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Actually, that's where we went for honeymoon, my wife and I. And when I sat down and I started talking to some of the people, they say it took them only about 17 to 20 years to go from like being a primitive city to one of the most spoken about cities in Mexico. And as we all know it, in Miami-Dade County, a lot of cities are moving on up. Wynwood is moving. Little Haiti is being revamped, and the Miami Design District, and you all know it. You all know what's going on. So the city of North Miami is on the move, and I think this project, this concept, whoever envisioned it and whoever wrote it and whoever executed it and to make it a reality, well, we're going to make it a reality. And I'm just speechless. And I'm glad to be one of the person who's going to be part of it, part of the history of the making in the city of North Miami. And I didn't say at the beginning that I'm very proud to be sitting among a council that has been very exemplary, especially in the past few months. And as you all know it. And Scott, well, I can call you Scott, right?
Absolutely.
And you can call me Smitty too.
All right.
Council, Keys. What's your first name again? Oh, Carol. I know that. I was just testing you to see if you have dementia or not. Remember, I'm a doctor. And
Councilwoman.
Councilwoman?
Councilwoman.
Maria. And Filippo. No, I'm really glad. I'm really glad to be sitting here, and you can see it in my face. I don't smile too often. And my staff at you don't know Jack. You don't know that. You think you know. My wife says I should smile more often because when I smile, she's nicer to me. So I'm very happy for it. I'm talking like this. I usually don't. That's because of the plan. And we're going to move this city forward. And I think we open for a public hearing. No?
Public hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
council members, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Good evening.
My name is Fred Stock. I am the president of Jewish Community Services of South Florida, the agency that was mentioned a few minutes ago that's right here in the middle of downtown North Miami. JCS has owned that building for over 20 years. So we've been a long-term member of this community, and certainly we have a stake in what we're talking about here tonight, a very important stake, and I'm here to support it. I'm here to support it personally, but I'm also privileged to be on the Downtown Action Plan Advisory Committee. I was appointed to the committee. I was elected to be vice chair. The chair is former Mayor John Stembridge. And I too want to commend the activities of the committee over the past number of months. We've been educated, and Tanya has taken the lead in that education process. And as you all recognize, and as I learned very quickly, she is very passionate about this project, and she's got this tremendous tenacity to keep it forward, and I really appreciate the support that you've given her here tonight. And I know she does. So the committee's role is, as Tanya pointed out, to be ambassadors for this plan, to support you in your efforts to support the plan, and hopefully to rule in favor of moving forward tonight. And I can only say that it would be fantastic for me to sit here 3 or 5 years from now and look at the JCS building, because we're not going anywhere. But if we had the opportunity to do some work on that ground floor and to turn it into a restaurant or some other kind of focal point to attract people to this community, we would like nothing better than to partner with the city in order to do that. So we're very, very proud to be part of this city, and we feel we have a stake in it. We provide numerous social services that benefit the residents of this community. So, like I said, we're not going anywhere. We want to be part of the growth and this community moving forward, and all I can tell you is we're 110% behind what the city wants to do, and we hope we can make it happen over the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I too applaud all the efforts that we have to make our city better. I've said for many years about trying to improve our exterior, our landscaping, and our streetscaping. But I've also said, having gone to all the meetings over the course of the last year or so, that we really need to do everything that was shown, but really much more. And this would be a great plan. This exterior decorating is a great plan for 1 or 2 years. But is this really a plan that our city grows into 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now? Is it true that if you put yourself years ahead, that our street plan should remain exactly the same? That this building, essentially the same volume and location, be exactly the same? That there be no expansion, specific expansion of parks, or that they be exactly the same? I went to a wonderful inaugural the other day and enjoyed our park, our Mocha Plaza. Heard a great speech, and I could see that we're already on the verge of maximizing that space. And I think there were proposals during the course of this last year that said, you know, there's an opportunity to double our Mocha space, to basically mirror image it, and to create a super block. And that super block idea, matter of fact, came in #1 in terms of its support at these many meetings. And unfortunately, as of this date, we haven't really incorporated the idea of a super block, a civic center that includes City Hall, the existing City Hall, a new City Hall, Mocha, the Mocha expansion, parking for all these municipal employees, and to take over the private sector over there so that we can also contain that, and it would be a self-contained civic location, including multi-storied structured parking that would accommodate police, Mocha, City Hall, and the rest, rather than benefiting just the private sector. So there's something that we can still investigate here to optimize on this plan. Let's go with this civic quadrant, let's say. Really take advantage of that. It's within our grasp. We can do this, and we could negotiate to accommodate the remaining land and better use it. We really don't need to develop the northwest corner here of an imposing building that would then compromise Mocha Plaza. We need to work out something, some sort of agreement to be able to accommodate, to get that land, to be able to use it to our city's benefit, and make an attractive offer for that landowner to be able to develop elsewhere, which would be a win-win situation. Look forward to your consideration. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Public hearing still open?
Mr. Mayor, council people, Mr. Manager, and I want to commend the efforts made by Tanya. Oh, my name is Camille Merelus, and I'm the executive director of a Sauvager Foundation, American International Relief. I just want to speak about the plan that I heard that Tanya submitted, and all the efforts that she made in order to come up with such a plan. And I heard that gentleman mention her as Sherlock Holmes. And I remember those books that I had been reading when I was not a blind man, you know. So I'd like you to support that plan so that someday North Miami could be a real city that the world wants to visit. So I'd like you to support that plan and approve it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other input before we go?
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Second. I guess public hearing is closed officially. Mr. Clerk?
Okay, the motion was made by Council.
No, I did that.
Discussion?
I did ask for comment.
Public hearing.
Hmm?
No, for council
Yeah,
discussion.
I did ask. Nobody spoke.
I didn't hear you.
Oh. Excusez-moi.
No problem. Just a question. We've got this plan you've asked us to approve, which really didn't have, I don't think, a whole lot of council input after it was put together. Are we married to this plan? There's certain items in here that, I mean, it's a great plan. It's very aggressive. There's a lot of projected beautiful buildings, but the owners of the buildings have to agree, number one. And we have some parking lots there, which may or may not be feasible, land available, and maybe some different ideas. So how married are we to this plan? What does this mean?
So just to respond to your question, Councilwoman, the plan, of course, is in draft form. What's being proposed to you is a conceptual plan. It envisions what the city's downtown could be, could possibly look like, but certainly, as Mr. Privitel just added, the details would come at the site plan level. Certainly for the mega block that he mentioned before, the plan does speak to that, of having a cultural arts district and a place where historic preservation is included, MoCA is celebrated, and economic development is emphasized. So certainly there are opportunities for those details. You mentioned public parking, garages. These are just conceptual recommendations. Certainly the plan is market driven. So as private development comes forward, as requests are made, the plan is used as a guide. The plan is certainly not written in stone. It's not engineered, it's not signed and sealed. It's strictly conceptual in nature, and it's really just intended to be a blueprint and a guide for future development.
You know, especially the MoCA Plaza, the downtown are building. It's saying get rid of some of these city buildings. And I just want to make sure that we're not married or committing to specific projects in these plans.
Certainly, it's a good concern, and I think the safeguard that you have is the development review process. You certainly can't turn dirt or move development without that review process, whether it's through a public hearing if people are requesting mixed-use developments in the downtown, or if in the case if you're doing capital projects, site plans would have to be submitted and approved by city staff. So your codes allow for you to have that review and that detail once development comes forward. But this is a guide and a vision, but it's not written in stone, as you rightly said.
And we can break this up into CRA and city
projects?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a recommendation in the plan, actually, to be able to fund the vision of the plan. It's looking at different funding sources, whether it's grants, it's bonds. It's recognizing the importance of having a CRA like ours to be able to fund many of the implementation strategies.
So is our next step to speak to the neighboring owners of various parcels and start moving forward? And what is the plan for our city complex, our municipal complex?
Well, the complex itself, we would have to issue an RFP to be able to invite proposals for what the complex could look like. During the forum, we did discuss the importance of like the historic society, the historic artifacts that we have here in the basement, really recognizing a place to be able to display that, whether it be in a museum, having a cultural arts portion. We talked about creating a one-stop shop where we don't have a hodgepodge of different uses within the mega block itself. So when you have an RFP, you outline the things in a concept plan that the community did say was important to us, from cultural arts to education to culinary arts. And certainly the proposals that you get would come before council to determine how we'd like to move forward.
Thank you. Good job, Tanya.
No problem.
Any other comments from the board, from the council? Mr. Clerk?
So we had a motion made by Councilman Galvin and was seconded by Vice Mayor Bieneme. Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys?
Yes.
Councilwoman Steril?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Bieneme.
Yes.
Tab O passes 5-0. Tab P. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the conditional use permit and substantially the attached form, transferring 9 bonus units from the neighborhood redevelopment overlay NRO district secondary pool of 1,000 floating residential units for the vacant property generally situated at the northwest corner of Northeast 6th Avenue and Northeast 123rd Street with Miami-Dade County folio numbers 06-2230-031-0030, 06-2230-031-0020, and 06-2230-031-0010 in accordance with Article 4, Section 4-204 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Land Development Regulations, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. That was tab P.
Do we have a presentation tonight? No.
No.
This is, we only have.
She can explain us what it is exactly.
If you want,
Briefly,
staff,
please.
staff can explain.
I'd be happy to provide some background information. As we've included in the staff report, we have an applicant that is requesting allocation of bonus units from the city's pool of 1,000 bonus units. For many of the older board members, they'll recall back in 2007, the city did create a pool that they considered to be a redevelopment pool for private investors. Once they come forward looking to get greater density to be able to redevelop vacant sites, they would be able to come to council, as this applicant is doing, and make requests for units or density from that pool. So the request before you is for 9 residential units. The applicant currently, as of right, can build 11 units on the site. They're requesting 9 additional units from the council to be able to build a 20-unit condominium complex. The property itself is zoned R5, and they're just south of the downtown area. So they're actually located on the southwest quadrant of Northeast 123rd Street and Northeast 6th Avenue. We do have the applicant that's here with his architect tonight, and he wishes to come forward and make a presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the council members. This is a property that was zoned R5, which is 16.3 dwelling unit per acre. In addition, we are applied for the deed certified design, means the green design, green building design, which allow us 7.5 dwelling unit per acre. And also we apply for TOD bonus density, which is 5.0 dwelling unit per acre. If you add up all those three items together, would give us 28.8 dwelling unit per acre. And this property has 0.68 acres. So when you multiply 28.8 by 0.68, would give you 20 units. And we respectfully request your approval oh, excuse me, of 20 units. Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
Public hearing is open. Anybody wishes to be heard?
I do. Just a
Public hearing is closed.
couple questions. You're going to be building a condominium there?
Yes.
Okay, and if you can't sell the units, you'll just rent them, correct?
Would you,
I mean, condominium to me is preferable. Ownership always makes for a nicer neighborhood. So,
well, it is a condominium and it ownership, but yeah.
I just have two other questions.
Go ahead.
The on 123rd Street, because I take that street quite often. That's a very busy street because everybody comes off Dixie and they have to make a right onto 125th. So I've been in traffic and sitting at the traffic light at your property many times. When you're going out, you're looking at the site plan. I guess it's on 123rd, the far west. Are you, Tanya? Will you be able to make a left coming out of that, or is that going to be restricted to a right turn only?
You should be able to make a left because that is a far.
Going westbound, you say, or going eastbound on 123rd?
Exiting the property on the north side of the property, right next to the pool. Going out there on Rush, when there's traffic, making a left out of there is.
Currently,
they
they
have any kind
haven't.
of traffic analysis there.
So I'll split it two ways. Currently, what they're requesting is just the bonus units.
I know.
If allocated by council, the next step would be site plan review. As a part of the site plan review, we do look at access issues, we do look at traffic circulation, we do look at generation. So certainly once our traffic engineer looks at that spot, we can make a determination as to whether or not it should be a right turn only or prohibit left turns exiting or entering into that site.
Pointing that out because it's really.
Correct. So I'll make a note of that once we get to site plan.
The traffic just lines up way past the property. You just sit there and people trying to make a left out of there. And then the other traffic trying to go to like 119th Street. It's a very busy street until they do something with that.
Agreed. It's a good observation.
I'm just pointing out the pool sitting right up there on 123rd Street does not seem like a real relaxing place for a pool. But I'm just pointing that out. I wouldn't want to be sitting in the pool on 123rd during rush hour.
But a
Correct.
little bit
So
to
it's
the-
just a conceptual drawing.
I'm just
Certainly, once
pointing
the
that out.
site plan
That's-
is submitted, we can make mention of orientation of some of the active spaces on the site.
It can be buffered.
I like how the building is situated more toward the front and the parking toward the back, so that we're
Yeah.
not looking at giant parking lots everywhere we go in North Miami.
Like the one across
Agreed.
the street.
Agreed.
Not too bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council member wishes to be heard? You want to say something?
He doesn't want me to speak, I don't understand.
Oh, that's a good thing. No? Mr. Clerk?
Motion was made by Councilman Galvin, seconded by Vice Mayor Bieneme. Mayor Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Steril?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Mayor Joseph?
Yeah.
Item passes 5-0. Tab Q. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the award of fiscal year 2014 through 2015 Community Development Block Grant funds to not-for-profit community-based organizations, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Mr. Mayor? Okay, if so old habits die hard.
It's okay.
Mr. New Mayor, just a question for staff, if I might, before we get into all this.
Go ahead.
This used to be a long, drawn-out process where group after group would come make an appeal to us, and we'd sit here and we'd fight over the money
I
and cut
remember
it up
that.
and do all of this stuff. And suddenly it's just been reduced to staff recommendations. None of the groups are here tonight and all of that. Why did that change happen? Oh, so maybe a couple of the groups are, but I don't know that all. This was handed to me tonight as I sat down. You know, what happened to change the procedures that we've had the 15 other years that I've sat through this?
Tanya?
Actually, the CBOs are here. They've been invited to attend the meeting tonight.
So are we planning on hearing presentations tonight?
Only if it's the desire of the council to hear each, but they're prepared to speak. And I think they're nodding, saying we can speak if that's the desire of the
Paul,
council.
did we ask every single organization to be here tonight?
We
Are they-
absolutely did.
So every organization is
We
here tonight ready
absolutely
to
did.
talk?
Correct. They're nodding.
Okay, now my next question is, then why did you do this to us at 10 o'clock at night on
Is
a
that
long
for me or the
agenda?
manager?
Okay, we're just gonna be here another long period of time. I just,
Let me interject for a minute.
We,
I think this is the same way that we did it last year or the year before, with the difference that Scott, I don't know if you remember, we used to have much more money than what we're having right now.
Correct.
Because before then, people used to ask, organizations used to ask for $70,000, $50,000, $30,000. But right now, I think that we only have how much? 80?
About 60 something.
How much
Yeah.
I
money?
thought it was 90.
No?
90, yeah, around that much. So it's you only can provide $10,000.
It's 75,000.
$75,000.
Smaller
So
than
it's
ever
way
before.
less than we used to have. What, $200,000
Correct.
giving? So right
Correct.
now it's not even
A fraction of.
you know.
Okay, if we're gonna have
What we have.
presentations, why don't we just tackle it and let's
But
just go with it.
let me just say, so personally, I think that I like it better when staff actually have the chance to go over the proposal and actually make the right recommendation. Before then, we used to sit up here, have those organizations come before us and put it aside everything for $3,000. So I don't have a problem, go with the recommendation of staff. And for 3,000, what's the largest amount that we give? 10,000?
85?
I'll tell you.
No, per organization. How much is that?
It depends.
7,500.
7,500 that's $7,500 that we need another 5 hours of presentation. So you guys
No,
can actually.
8,700
But
is
from,
the largest.
from what I
I'm
understand, we
I'm not-
always can make amendments.
No, if you give it to them tonight, you give it to them. But if you guys want a
No, I'm talking
presentation
about
for 2
now.
hours for.
We can reallocate it money. And as council.
Mr. Manager, you wish to be heard?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to explain the process. We do have a staff team that looked at all these applicants. There's criteria and grading that went into it. Then after the criteria to make sure that all the federal requirements are met with the programs that were offered or the programs that the funding is supporting. You got to understand, these are HUD requirements. They are federal requirements that the city has to follow. We are going to be audited with these grants. Although they are small, they are all going to be audited. The staff committee that was set up went through every application and recommended an award amount. That award amount is part of your package that is presented in this sheet here.
They went before the planning commission.
And
didn't
it was the whole project or the whole program went before the planning commission. And this is what was approved. I'm bringing it before the council now for final approval. So it went
Now,
through a process.
I think I'm going to echo what Councilman Galvin said. I know that staff has gone over it and you've been through the process of evaluating and deciding who gets what. But the thing is, we are being served with a huge amount of papers at the last minute, and we are the ones who are going to decide either 3 out of 5 or 5 out of 5.
Right.
But we are giving the less, time to really read the document and make a plausible decision. So I think the process should be reviewed, and I don't know.
Why don't we make a motion and to postpone this to
Yeah.
the next
I'll
council?
motion we continue
can-
this to our December meeting to allow the council to have time to look at the actual
Sure.
applications, and that we'd set it up so that each organization has 3 minutes to present that night. And, then the council can decide who gets.
To reallocate if necessary.
Is that what we really want to do?
I'm not. I'm in favor of pushing it for the next council, but
Okay.
allow each of them to speak for 3 minutes.
Sure.
Yes, definitely.
So I have a motion from
Unless
Councilman
we decide
Galvin.
to do so, but why don't we leave it open?
No, they're just discussing.
Council,
They just.
Councilman Scott Garvin.
Okay.
I'll wait for the councilman's question.
Beside those organizations that the city staff actually awarded the grant, are we gonna have everybody that actually applied? Because it will not make any sense to me just to sit up here, listen to those only that actually award. If you want to be fair, apparently that's what we wanna do up here, to be fair to everybody, so we're gonna have to listen to everyone that was applied. If we don't want to go by just staff recommendation. Is that what you guys want? Because listening to the one that actually awarded, what sense does it make? Because we have to give them the money regardless.
I think if a group is not qualified based on your research, that if their paperwork wasn't in order, they're not a real 501c3, and you can eliminate a few of them, that's okay. We don't, since it's federal money, we don't want to hear from groups that we can't give it to anyway. But other than that, everybody who's qualified, let's hear from them.
Well, I think the process. If it's going to come to us for final approval, so I would call the staff process like it's like going to the ER. You go to the
We're
ER.
not a doctor, we don't understand.
You go to the emergency room. There is a triage process to decide whether this person really needs to be in the ER to begin with.
Correct.
Now, by the time the patient is seen by the nurse and then by the triaging nurse and then go to the nurse who's going to take care of him or her, by the time the attending doctor gets to that patient, that patient is probably going to be admitted. So if that's the case, what you do is a triaging process, and then you bring us the final product to decide whether do these people really merit, the money that we're going to be giving them. I think we should be involved in the triaging process while you interviewing or you evaluating these papers. These papers should be presented to us, like having individual meetings with each member of the council
Right.
prior to even coming here.
You see, Dr. Smith, what they give you tonight, they already diagnosed the patient and they prescribe the medication. And then they bring it to you
That's what
just
we
to
don't-
say that's good medication.
Just to sign.
No, even if
You're
you
not a
think
doctor. How do you know about our discussion up here?
They're not allowed to sign the
I was a
prescription.
nursing assistant, so I understand doctor's language.
even if we think the patient may be on the wrong medication regimen, so we say okay, give it
I
anyway
give up.
because it's too late.
Okay, so what do you want to do?
Just one point of clarification. All the parties that applied for the grant got money except for one. And the
Okay.
only
Two?
two, sorry, my mistake. Two.
Why? Not
And
qualified.
I will let staff give you the recommendations why they were not, because as I said before, there's federal requirements and guidelines that we have to follow. And if your application did not follow some of those guidelines,
They're out.
they were out.
And we're not going to hear from them in 2 weeks.
And there are
They're out.
agencies that are here that have been doing business or have been getting funding from us for quite a long time, and it has reflected in some of the funding that they got as
Now,
well.
what is the process of recruiting these organizations? I mean, how do people know of the funds of the available funds?
It's published in the newspaper per federal requirements, with the date and time of everything is here.
Okay.
In your package, there's a copy of the Miami Herald posting as well. It's all here.
And another
What
thing,
do you-
just for the for the $7,000 or the $3,000, it's a lot of documentation. It's a lot of work, which make it very hard for a small organization, which could have used the $3,000 to
Correct.
survive. And that's what we have been encountering in the past. Yes, we want to give it to a lot of organizations, but they just cannot keep up with the paperwork, with
Right.
the regulation, and all that.
Keep in
So-
mind too that the CDBG funding has dropped almost 60% in the past 4 years in the city. We had hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now we only have 75,000.
So what do we want to do?
When did the application process to begin?
It's in October.
In October?
He said we,
I make a motion
You mean
to
last month?
table
So you
the
wanna
item
retable the
to
item for the next
yeah,
meeting?
Yeah. Everybody's tired, so they don't want to deal with
Okay.
it. Yeah.
And may I make an additional request, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
She made a motion.
Yeah, and I
Is
want
it- is it
I'll
seconded?
second that.
Yeah.
Hmm?
May I ask that we put this toward the front of said agenda, and then if possible, we keep that agenda a little bit on the light side so that we're not getting to anybody's. I always feel bad for anybody's stuff who's only coming up for the first time at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. I mean,
I agree.
if possible.
Okay.
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 Motion was made by Councilwoman Sterry to table this particular item, item Q, till the next council meeting, and that motion was seconded by Councilman Garvin. Did I get that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone wishes to record a no? Item passes 5-0.
Sorry,
Tab
guys.
R. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the execution of the Building Better Communities Interlocal Agreement in substantially the attached form between the city of North Miami and Miami-Dade County to accomplish the water and sewer system enhancements project number 17.4-71388 using eligible funding from the Building Better Communities General Obligation Bond Program for a total project cost not to exceed $1,750,000, and further authorizing the city manager and city attorney to do all things necessary under the agreement to effectuate the project, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Move approval.
Second.
Public hearing is open. Anybody wishes to be heard from the public? Public hearing is now closed. Council members?
No question.
I have a question, Mayor, and that project and this RFP have been done years ago, right?
Actually, this is just the allocation of the general obligation bond.
What do you
funding.
mean?
When I say the allocation, Miami-Dade County allocated funding of $1.75 million to North Miami for sanitary sewer improvements throughout the city.
But did you do a public RFP to select that company?
He has a select company.
No, there's no company selected yet. The second item, which is the other item on the agenda, is the selection for a company to do three pump stations, 3 sanitary sewer pump stations.
Okay, if I understand, it's make that money available to Public Works to do water and sewer project
Water and sewer improvements, that's correct.
throughout the city
That's correct.
by city staff.
Throughout the city, in areas that is required for
By-
rehabbing the system, rehabbing our water and sewer system.
Who's gonna do the job?
Of the $1.75 million, $1 million is going to be spent throughout the city on the gravity sanitary sewer system, which we are going to be doing
understand,
lining
we
or
understand
sanitary sewer lining. 500,000 is going to be spent on purchase of pumps for pump
But you haven't
stations,
select the companies yet.
and 200,000, which is the other item, is the selection of a company to rehab 3 of the
Okay, if I-
sanitary
if I
sewer lift
understand,
stations.
For the 1.7, you haven't
Yes.
select a company yet.
No,
You only select a company for the 199.
that's correct.
Let's do one at a time.
Yeah, the 1.7, right?
Yes.
Okay, then you're gonna do an RFP and to select a company to do the job, or you're gonna do it in-house?
No. The 1.75 consists of three components of spending. 1 million is going to be spent on gravity or sanitary sewer improvements.
We understand that.
But that process will go out to allocate that contract through an RFP process.
Okay, you're gonna. That's what I
That
mean.
1 million.
Okay.
500,000, it would also be spent on selecting through an RFP process to select companies to supply pumps for the pump stations that we are working on.
Okay, if I understand, that's mean we haven't selected any companies. We are voting on the money, the
You have
allocation
this-
of the money
This is the allocation of the 1.75 to be spent.
for
Yes,
projects.
For projects.
Then you're gonna do an RFP to select the companies.
The next item is an RFP.
Okay, can we
is-
move on? Okay.
Yeah,
I
You guys
understand that.
going around,
Yeah.
the same thing. Sorry.
The 1.7,
all right.
no company have been selected. You only select a company for 199.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that company is selected off of our,
Why are we discussing two items at a time? You're mixing R
Yeah.
and S. Why don't we do them one by one
okay.
instead
The-
of combining them?
The item you have in front of you is just authorizing myself and the city attorney to start, to accept the funding and then start executing the project, the GOB project.
And that's gonna go to an RFP process.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the RFP is only gonna be open to the vendors that we've been dealing with.
We have a list of CCNA
I'm asking.
vendors.
Oh,
Yes.
no, just.
The next item on your agenda will address that.
Who
Okay.
was that?
All this is, the next item on the agenda will address the engineering company.
Yeah, but you said something. You said you're gonna select the companies from a pool.
That's what
That has
I'm,
been done 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
And I've been asking you, why don't we reopen it since Johnson, and nobody haven't, you guys haven't done anything about it. And I've been asking, and even on the dais, we asked for that, and you never done that.
If you make a motion, I will second it for,
Okay, I'll make-
just to move on.
I make a motion and for the approval of the fund, but
Okay.
to an RFP process open to the public, to a new RFP, not from the pool. And I
Okay.
asked you that we do another pool to when other companies, you guys haven't decided to do that.
Okay, I'll explain.
We already have a motion and a second on the
Explain.
floor, Mayor.
Was that?
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor. We already have a motion and a second on the floor.
Can I?
With a friendly amendment.
No, can
I'll withdraw my motion so that the councilman can make another.
Can I interject? Okay, I think what's need to happen, we move on with this item as mentioned, as published, and then the councilman can actually make another motion, separate motion, to open the pool of the vendors, for lack of better word, that we're using right now. That would be two different resolution.
Okay, so let's
Or we can
discuss.
So let's move
Okay,
on.
let's
No,
do
no,
one
no, no,
first.
no, no,
Okay,
no,
okay,
look,
okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so let's
so
do
let's make-
one first, and then
Okay.
we'll go to the second
Okay.
one as a new item.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
As a new item.
The item you
So-
have before you is authorizing us to
Correct.
execute the spending of the one.
We understand that, but we
0.75.
just don't want you to use the pool. That's what we keep saying to you. We understand that, Alan.
Okay, that's the next item on the
That's
agenda.
not the next. You already choose another company for the next item. That's not what we are talking about.
Let's make two.
And I
motions
told you
for
that
this.
at a meeting.
Okay.
I move the item as stated in the record. Anybody want to second it?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Any discussion on it?
No.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
All right, so the motion now is made by Councilwoman Steril, and this motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. This is the motion to approve tab R as is. Vice Mayor Benjamin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Steril,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys,
Yes.
Councilman Galvin,
Yes.
and Mayor Joseph.
Yay.
Okay, that particular item is approved 5-0.
Okay, now make your motion.
Now, and can we come up with tab R1 saying that a new pool open to a new RFQ should be made for engineering and design
Sure.
before we execute that $1.7 million?
We can do that. We're in the process. Just keep in mind, we have only 2 people or 2 persons in my procurement department. I'm working on filling the positions. My procurement department was already given instructions to put out the new CCNA list, which is a pool of A&E contractors, and we're in the process of putting that out.
Yeah, but you need
I
to
second the
acquit-
motion.
okay.
Let's
Okay.
move on, guys.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Okay.
Okay, I need the wording for that.
the
The
motion.
city attorney will give you the wording.
No, I need it now.
Should give
The
it.
city attorney, can you give him the word
Yeah, I
for a
need
new
to write it.
RFQ
Authorizing
about
us to move with the new.
design engineering? She know the.
Yes, so you made a motion to authorize the city manager to move forward with compiling a new CCNA list.
CCNA.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's called a CCNA. list.
CCNA list.
No, that's not what he said.
Okay,
No?
no, that's what they
What did
mean.
he
That's
say?
what- they
The
know,
correct
that's what they-
terminology that we need for the resolution.
Hmm?
That's not what he
It's-
said?
No.
No.
What he said?
What he wants
That's
to say is that to the city for the city manager to open the opportunity for other
Yeah.
companies to be added to the list that we now have.
That's the CCNA
That's
list.
what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
Well,
that's
No, yeah,
Yeah.
for new companies to be
yeah,
added.
exactly, a new
Yeah.
list, right?
Not added, a new list. If
No,
those
if
people want
there's
to
gonna be a-
participate, they will be part of.
By
the-
putting an RFQ out, we'll be getting developing a brand new list of
Correct.
CCNA approved vendors.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes,
that's
yes,
what we'll be doing.
yes.
That's what
And
it
I
is.
would,
Okay.
and I
The
would,
old
yes.
list is no longer going to be valid.
The whole list is no longer going to be valid.
Yeah.
And I
The
would,
CCNA
yes.
process we'll be following, adopting
She voted
this.
yes 3 times.
Yes, I
It's
mean, we're moving on.
CC.
CCNA, competitive
CCNA.
consumer. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, what is the new?
We
What
need
I
to
have
vote.
here really, what I could decipher it was a motion made by Councilman Bieneme, Vice Mayor Bieneme, seconded by Councilwoman Steriel, and this motion is to open a brand new list of CCNA vendors. And that's the motion that I have.
To an RFQ.
Okay, so a brand new.
I'll decide.
I don't know, whatever.
Can I ask a question? Is there any guideline as to how often we should open the process of getting new vendors?
Some cities,
No?
some cities change it every 2 years. The present list we have is 3 years. The last list, we had it for approximately 4 years. So, it depends.
How it fits.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat that. Vice Mayor Bieneme made the motion. Councilwoman Sterling, this is for created tab R-1, and the motion is to open a brand new list of CCNA vendors through an RFQ process. And you want discussion or a vote?
No, it's up to the
Anyone-
council members.
We just did.
Okay, anyone wishes to record a no? Item passes 5-0.